Hello, I'm glad you're back to learn more. I'm Ashley Krieger, a full-time traveler, artist, and the teacher behind 𝗃𝗡𝗪𝗡𝗏.com. Today we're going to talk about relaxation, and we're going to relax while we paint a beach scene together. All you need are a few simple supplies to get started. I listed them over here on the left. You'll want your palette to put your paint on, some acrylic paints. First, let's talk about colors so that we can match and mix whatever colors we want. Primary colors make all the other colors. The three primary colors are magenta, yellow, and cyan. Then the other two colors that you need are black and white. I'm going to add a little bit of the magenta to my palette here. I want you to notice that I have a messy palette, and that's because I can use these colors on this palette for every painting this month. How to keep your acrylic paints from drying out was in a previous lesson. Magenta and yellow make red, and you can choose whatever yellow works for you the most. I like to use the lemon yellow, but cadmium yellow can also be a primary yellow. I'm going to show you how it makes red, because several artists remember that they learned that red was a primary color, but actually if you mix your magenta and your yellow, you get red. So magenta is the primary color. You can't make magenta. So instead of using my red color to make a pink, I can use my magenta, yellow, and my white to make the same pink that we made the other day. And that's a pretty close match to those two colors. I can keep adjusting the color until I match it exactly, but I think this is good. Let's mix a few colors for this painting together. To make a sand color, let's mix our black with our white to get a gray color. Add a little bit of your primary yellow to that mixture, and a little bit of burnt sienna. If you don't have that color, you can add just a little bit of red. And then you just adjust those colors until you reach the sandy color that you want. So now let's put that color on the bottom of our canvas so we can paint the sand. So with my wash brush here, I'm just adding that color right here on the bottom of my canvas. So let's make a line to see how much we want to cover our canvas with this color. So let's just make an irregular line here because we're going to make this into a wave hitting the sand, so it doesn't need to be a straight line. And it's about a third of the way up on your canvas if you were to take this canvas and split it into 3 parts. And I'm just going to fill in this whole area down here on the bottom with that color. You don't need to clean out your brush, just wipe it out on your paper towel. And then we're going to grab our blue here. This is the medium blue. It can also be a cyan blue, whatever you have. We're adding that color to the end of our brush, and then at the very top of our line, we're going to pull that color down. If there's too much blue on your brush, then it'll cover too much, so you can wipe that on your paper towel. But if you need more, go ahead and grab some more color. And then we just pull that color down, and you may need to go back getting more paint as you pull that color down, and it should blend with the sand color underneath it, so you may have to go over it a couple times and take that color all the way across. And this is where the water meets the sand, and so there's a little bit of a change in the color of the sand. Now we're going to paint the sky, so let's wash out our brush here, dab it on our paper towel to get rid of the excess water, and we're going to focus on putting color on the top third of our canvas now, so about right here and above. So let's add some blue to our paintbrush here. You just want a nice blue color. And let's create a line going across, a nice straight line, as straight as you can make it. Now let's add some white to our brush and add white above that line going back and forth. It may pick up some of the blue, and that's great. We would like to have streaks in our sky, so that's perfect if that happens. If not, we can put it in later. The more we go over an area, the more it blends. So you can decide how much you want it blended into one solid color, or you can leave those streaks. So let's add a little bit of white to the blue and get a light blue color here. This color is going to be the darkest part of the sky on your sky, so make it as dark as you want to, and then add it to the top of your canvas. You may have to add a little water to your paint so that it'll spread. I like to just add the water to my brush, and then I go back and forth, making it nice and smooth. Once we can't move that color down anymore, then let's grab some more of that color with a little bit more of white with it. So it's a little lighter, and we're going to focus on the middle part between the white and the darker blue that we created at the top. So this is just going back and forth, making this a nice smooth transition. An optional thing you can do is add a little bit of green to your sky color, and that will make it more of an aqua color. It just depends on what you want to do, but I'm going to add that right here to show you what it looks like, and then I just go back and forth over the whole sky area so that it's nice and blended. Now you can have a few streaks if you want to. I still have some streaks in mine, and it just gives it a hazy look, or you can blend it out completely so that you don't have any of those streaks. That will make your sky look like it's a clear, sunny day. This is just a personal preference. I'm going to go ahead and blend out mine a little bit more by going the other direction with my brush strokes and then smoothing it out going side to side. That's how you can get rid of those streaks if you don't want them. And then once your sky is the way that you like it, then we can go on to the next step. Now we're going to paint the ocean, so you can just wipe out your brush or clean it all the way if you'd like. This middle section is what we're going to paint, and we're going to use the dark blue color and a little bit of the white and create this middle color here. And then let's just take that color and go across over and over next to the line that we created there. And then we can twist our brush around and cover more area, grab more color when you need to, and you can blend it so that there's no streaks, or you can have the streaks in it because those little streaks will look like waves. So here I'm going to make some streaks. Just let me add this right here and blend it a little bit to show you how we can make it smooth. And then I can add some of the dark color on my brush, and using my brush just this direction, I can go back and forth and add streaks in it and see how that looks like waves. This is why you don't need to blend out all the streaks, is because you want to create some lines in here. Just focus on adding color to the top part of this section, because the lower section we are going to put a nice big wave in, and you can add as many lines as you wish. Now let's add in our wave. So what we want to do is we want to take our brush strokes and go in a direction of the wave. So let's add some dark to our brush, and then let's go in a diagonal with our brush strokes. We're following the curve of the wave, and it doesn't matter if we go over a little bit of what we've already put down there above it. So let's just let this wave dissipate while we go to the right, and then we can decide how thick we want it on the left there. So let's just carry this on over all the way to the right side. Let it be thicker on the left side. Okay, now we want to get a lighter color on our brush, so just this middle color. You can also add some of the cyan, a little bit of white to it. You can even add some green if you wish. Our colors don't have to be exact. We just want to get about the same value. Value is the darkness of the color. So here it's pretty light. Now we're going to spread that color over here underneath the wave. And then as we do that, we're going to still go in the angle of the wave. So it'll meet up with that blue, and it'll start blending with that blue. So some of that blue will get on your brush as you bring it back down. Don't worry about that. We'll smooth it out down there when it's close to the sand. And then you go in the direction of the wave here, and the direction of the wave is actually going down over towards the right. So it switches about the middle of the canvas. So you can pull some of that blue down as you go over to the right side. Now we're going to go side to side with our brush strokes, and notice how I'm using the edge of my brush, and then we just kind of scribble it side to side, pushing that paint into the canvas. Let's make a slightly different color to add to that and make it a little bit lighter than what we added. There we go. And then side to side again, just making it a little bit more choppy and not smooth. We can take that color up against the sand, and we can start defining where we want the water to meet the sand. So we can bring this line lower if we wish. And when the water meets the sand, it's never a straight line. So you can just play around here and not have to worry about that. So I'm getting that color in, and some of the area I will go over the sand. You'll be able to see a little bit of the sand color underneath that. That's fine. And while we fill in the rest of our canvas so that we have at least the first layer, we can start defining the line of where our water meets the sand and make it nice and squiggly so it can be irregular. It can come back in areas and more forward in areas, and that's just what I see in nature, and so that's what I'm putting on my painting. Your painting doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but it should look something like this. And I'm just going to pull a little bit of the dark blue here on the right side. Now I'm going to add some dark blue to my brush, and we're going to start defining where the waves are meeting the sand. So I'm just using the edge of my brush and of course going in a squiggly way so that it looks like this wave is irregular with an irregular line slanting up towards the right side. So notice how I start in the left side corner where the water was meeting the sand, and I take it all the way up to the dark portion of this wave. Make sure your line is squiggly and irregular. The closer we can match how things look in nature, the more realistic this painting will look. So let's add another line, just starting from the middle of that other line that we just created, and another squiggly line going off to the right side. We're starting to create the layers of waves that are coming in. And this blue part is going to be the shadow. So let's add the shadow right here where this wave meets the sand. You can also grab your 1/2 inch brush for this if this gives you a little bit more control. I'm just going to follow this line right along the edge all the way. You can have some areas where it skips. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to show you that because in nature everything is not perfect. It's perfectly imperfect, so I'm just copying that. So now I'm going to take some blue and add some streaks going in the direction of the wave. And I'm using the edge of my brush to just pull down from the top and then pull into the medium color to add some shadow area. So now let's add that blue with just a few choppy lines right here next to this wave back here. We'll add that detail when we want to show movement of water. Now let's work on the details underneath this wave. Let's just grab a little bit more of that dark blue and just kind of get in some more of a swirly motion down here and bring those two together. So notice how the texture now reaches each other, reaches in the wave, and also reaches right up here in front. Okay, so now we can go on to the next thing. We can add a little bit of texture right over here on the right, and then a little bit of the texture right here in this wave. So right up here against this line, there's going to be movement in the water. So anytime there's no movement in the water, you're going to have reflection of the sky on it. So we're just kind of breaking that up a little bit. Now we're going to paint some waves coming forward and more over the sand, and we're going to make these waves so that you can see the sand more clearly underneath. So let's just start making an irregular line right here and take this line across. You can just let this paint run out as we make a squiggly line here over to the left side. Now let's take the paint on that line and pull up some of that paint reaching to the other wave behind it. So notice how you can see the sand color underneath this color. This is called a glaze when you do this. When you want more coverage, you apply more paint. So I can take some of this paint that I just added to my brush and pull down from the other wave behind it going down. So basically we're just making vertical lines, and we can adjust the coverage of the sand as we wish. Now we can start moving our brush back and forth, just dragging that paint around to get this look of movement in the water. Just breaks up those lines a little bit. Now I'm going to grab a color that's similar to the sky color and just scrub it in, going side to side, just getting some of that color down here. You can go ahead and add as much as you want of that color. Just make sure that you leave some of the sand color to be seen. Once you've added that color in that wave, let's work on adding the same color back here at the bottom of this large wave. Using the same type of brush strokes, notice how you can see those differences in colors more clearly. That light against the dark makes it look like the light is shining off of this part of the wave. And so having all these layers, that's what creates a more realistic look. We're layering colors, we're adding in details, we're copying the texture that we can see in the ocean, as well as the colors that we can see, and that's what makes a more realistic look. So now we want to add some white to our brush and start adding in the foam. So we can go right above the dark blue line of our waves. Notice how I use the edge of my brush again to make an irregular line. We can also add the look of movement behind this wave as well. Now I'm going to switch over to my detail brush, add a little bit of that light color, and create some swirlies right here back behind this wave. So right in between these two lines, and I just create these vertical swirls. Let's just add a few details in this wave in front. Adding this color to all the waves will create harmony in this painting. So let's add that color to this wave back here, going the direction of the wave next to those dark lines that we created back here as well. So this could be the foam coming up, or just the lighter areas of the wave. And I'm just going to add just a few lines and just focus on the left side of this wave. Now I'm going to switch to the larger round brush, and I'm going to put white on that brush. And we're going to paint the foam and the splash of the waves. So right here where the dark of the wave meets those curved lines, we're going to create the foam right here starting on the left side of this wave. Notice how it's a very inconsistent line. I pull up right there to create a splash, and then I take that and I come down. So everything's broken apart because these waves are broken apart. This foam is broken apart, okay? So we're just creating a very inconsistent line and movement. So we're going to make like a U shape right here at this part of the wave and then come back up. Notice how I just create some dots with the edge of my brush and then some blobs, and carry that over just right underneath the dark area and let it dissipate as we go towards the right. This makes it look like the wave over here on the right side is just swelling and the left side is crashing. So now we're going to add the white above all the other waves. So again, a very inconsistent line with your pure white and this round brush. You can even pull some lines back here. And I'm just copying what I see in nature. So that's what I'm doing. And in nature, everything is very irregular. It's as far as the shapes go. And so when we create a line, we're not going to want to create a line, a perfect line, at the very edge where this foam is, because then it'll start looking kind of cartoonish. And so the more we copy what we see in nature, the more realistic it looks. But if we wanted to make our painting more impressionistic or more abstract, we could stop copying nature, right? And we could start putting in our own ideas. So I just added a little bit more detail in my waves here. This is optional. I might even soften it at the very end or get rid of some of it. So let's just make sure we get the foam on the edges of our waves here on all of them. You don't need to follow my brush strokes exactly. This is just a time to relax and allow yourself to have the freedom that is required to start relaxing, because it is in the process of painting that we find the relaxation. It's not at the end. It's in the middle part, and we have to let ourselves relax. And to do that, we got to let go of this mindset of perfectionism. We just have to accept where we are right now and what we can deliver to this painting. We will progress the more we paint, and that's the natural way that we do progress. Every painting looks better. So if we can let go of your painting having to look exactly like mine, then you can allow yourself to be you, and that lets you relax. The other thing that can hold an artist back from being able to relax is frustration. The great thing about acrylics is you can always fix it. Look, I'm fixing this part with my finger, and I'm going to fix it because it's bothering me. And anytime you are bothered by something in your painting, just take a step back, take a deep breath, and realize that it's always fixable. Sometimes that frustration comes when we don't know how to fix it. And that just comes from learning the skills that are needed to paint. And that's why lessons are so important. It's taken me a while to get to the point where I can paint whatever it is that I want. I can paint what I envision, and I can also copy what is in front of me if I desire to do that. And this wasn't a gift that just showed up one day. It took a lot of learning new skills, a lot of practicing those skills. It took other people, their help, their knowledge, and asking questions. And I remember moments when I did feel frustration. And instead of getting discouraged by that and not letting myself enjoy the process of painting, I just looked for ways that I could increase my knowledge so that I could get the looks that I wanted. I remember when I couldn't even paint clouds. I was trying to paint a lighthouse on the ocean because I like the ocean, and there were some clouds in the sky, and I wanted to be able to put in different clouds actually than what I was seeing, and I couldn't get the texture right. And so I went and got a book that taught how to paint clouds, and I painted over my sky so many times until I got those clouds right. And if you do that, instead of getting frustrated and getting discouraged, then you can relax more knowing that there's always help out there. I'm here for you right now. You have so many resources, even online, that are available to you to help you learn to get the looks that you want in your painting. So notice how I'm making some lines here right above the foam. Don't forget those lines. I got carried away in my thought here. So I'm just adding those lines right on the big wave on the dark part above the foam, and then making my splash just a little bit more detailed here with some smaller dots. Which brings us to the very last step, which is adding your final details, which are based on your personal preferences. So this is when you can take away the reference photo and start adding things or changing things based on what you feel needs to be changed. At any time during this part of the painting, you can be done. So this could be a finished painting right now, but I'm going to go ahead and soften these lines right here because that is one of my personal preferences. I'm also going to add a little bit of this bluish green light color in a few more places because I want to lighten up the painting just a little bit more. Now the more details I add, the more realistic it's going to look and the more I follow what I see, but I can change anything that I want to. I don't have to make this look like a realistic painting. I'm going to go along with my preferences and make this painting look the way that I prefer it to look. I'm not going to try to let the picture dictate what I create. And this is a thing that I have noticed helps me relax more. I can become really tight and wound up in trying to make something look perfect. And perfectionism is not really something that is very relaxing. And so if I want myself to relax, I have to let go of that. So I take away the reference photo. So notice how I added dark underneath the wave over here? I did that to make the wave pop or stand out a little bit more. So before that I had softened everything, and I'm just making sure that the focal point, which is the area that your eye or the viewer's eye goes to first, is that wave. I'm also going to adjust some colors to my liking. So I'm going to make sure that this line back here is straight. And then I'm going to add a lighter color back here, softening this transition from the sky to the ocean. If you like your painting the way that it is, just go ahead and keep it that way. But if you like this look, then you can go ahead and follow right along. I'm also going to adjust some of my lines back here as well. Just added some darker lines right here so it looks like there's a wave forming back here. And lastly, I'm going to add just a little light pink right here above the ocean and make it look more like there's a sunset back here. Again, if you like this look, great. If you don't, your painting was fine just the way it was. And I'm going to add just a little bit of that pink color on my waves and on the splash of my wave. You are done with your painting when you are happy with it. I hope that you enjoyed some time to relax with me today and that you learned a lot from this lesson. If you have any questions, just let me know. Remember that no two paintings are the same, so enjoy having some of the unique things you have brought to your painting today to make it yours. I'm always excited to share more with you and to relax while we paint along together, so I'll see you in my next video.